MVNO and you've got account managed customers, then I think the migration would be much easier because you're working with your enterprise customers and you're in there and you can work with the administrators and issue all the SIMs out to their corporate fleet. So that can all be managed. If you're a consumer MVNO, it's interesting, because it's not that well tested. I guess but you would, in a majority of cases, you'd have to provide your customers some sort of incentive to swap out the SIM, and they have to be getting something in return for it. Yeah. Because, as you said, the churn risk is quite high at that point because they're having to swap anyway. Actually, I might have a look in the market and see what else is available to me. So, and generally speaking, the acquiring MNO may well support, provide some support for, to help with that migration.
Yeah.
But it's in their interest too, right? I mean, if you're
absolutely
acquiring a base of 100,000, you want to make sure you're getting as close to 100,000 that you're allowing for. Then, if you're going to lose some, but you want to minimise that as far as possible.
Yeah, absolutely, and that makes perfect sense. So, I mean, am I right in on the thinking that I think the TPG, when they were prior to the sort of mobile, like their own network launch, did they also switch from, was it Optus to Vodo at some point as a MVNO?
Yes, they did. You're absolutely right. So, one of their bases they did. So, you know that TPG bought IONET in Australia. So, the IONET base stayed with Optus because that was part of the contract term. Was they weren't able to break that. But the TPG base, they were able to migrate across to Vodafone. And you hear different things, but that deal was done at the same time that Vodafone did a very big dark fibre deal with TPG for their backhaul, for their network backhaul.
Interesting. Okay.
So you may not be aware of that, but Vodafone in the past, they had a lot of network issues and all of that when you're supposed to do with backhaul, and because they're not an integrated carrier themselves, they're reliant on having to purchase, backhaul, or they had a lot of microwaves out in the network, which when you start to, people start using 4G and have much more intensive data usage, microwave has a lot more limitations.
Yes.
And also as we move into more of a 5G world, that you've really, we want to be more in control of your backhaul network. So they effectively went to the market and went to a number of providers, but they wanted to have control of their own backhaul and therefore wanted access to dark fibre. And so they did a deal with TPG. TPG was very happy because that deal then also helped fund their fibre rollout.
Yeah.
To go much broader. So it was a very, very clever deal. And off the back of that, of course, Vodafone also then picked up the TPG MVNO base. So there was a migration done there, and by all accounts, that was managed fairly well. Although their MVNO base has declined over the sort of last couple of years, and that's mainly off the back of not, that particularly they stagnated a bit, I think, on the mobiles front.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean that's sort of a interesting point in itself. Like MVNOs, I mean, I was sort of looking across the world trying to get an idea of, where are sort of very successful examples of MVNOs in terms of, getting scale, and there's not a huge number of them. And I just sort of wanted to, from your point of view, why is that? Like, why? I think one of the bigger ones I've seen is sort of, actually in the UK, you have sort of Tesco Mobile, which is sort of apparently 6% of the market here, which is a relatively big number. And but from your point of view, like, I mean, is it the fact that they're quite niche, or what sort of stops them actually getting big scale?
Yeah, look, I think, Tesco is a JV, isn't it, with O2?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. So then, they run a separate board, and, therefore O2 has a lot more, I guess, vested interest in ensuring they're successful. If I don't know, it's called me